Good evening. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another ESG Livecast webinar. We are so glad that we are making this a regular feature now. And this particular collaboration of the consortium, headed by the Brown Network, Global Tech Innovations, IFRS Lab, Are You Thinking Green, HermesNet, and Cognition Hub, is a consortium that's working towards creating more viable, not only business cases around why ESG is an important factor, but also looking at the adoption of it. Every few weeks come together to talk about how organizations in the private sector and the regulator in the public sector and then public sector organizations कैसे तीनों एक collaborative approach में academia की मदद से कैपेसिटी बिल्डर्स की मदद से इंक्यूबेशंस की मदद से और जो हमारे रिपोर्टिंग के एक्सपर्ट्स हैं जो हमारे रिसर्च के एक्सपर्ट्स हैं ये तमाम के तमाम जो इदारे हैं कैसे ईएसजी की ग्रेटर अडॉप्शन पाकिस्तान के लिए कर सकते हैं बहुत सारे वक्त हमें ये कहा गया था कंसोर्शियम पे हमें फीडबैक भी आई थी जो हम डिफरेंट अपने पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं और ये जो लाइव वेबिनार्स भी करते हैं उसके ऊपर एक पॉइंट जो प्रीडोमिनेंटली सामने आता है वो ये है कि कैसे हम सेक्टर फोकस कन्वर्सेशंस करें जहाँ पे हम चैलेंजेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज और बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस तीनों चीज़ों की बात इकट्ठे करें सो आज का जो सेशन है वो हम बात करेंगे कि फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज के अंदर हाउ कैन वी navigate sustainability and the most important element is that how can risk be managed. So I am extremely delighted that for the next 60 minutes we are going to speak to a stellar panel who comes in with a lot of expertise in terms of how the financial services as a sector is thriving and where are the hidden opportunities where you can cap. तो हम में से जो भी लोग अभी हमें ज्वाइन इन कर रहे हैं लिंक्डइन पे यूट्यूब पे फेसबुक पे हमारे जो डिफरेंट चैनल्स हैं प्लीज फील फ्री to add in your thoughts, add in your comments, and look at and join in the conversation. We will be having access to the live comments. So please do join us and follow through in the conversation. So I'm going to introduce my colleague and friend who's part of the consortium as well. So Noman Khaled is representing HermesNet. He comes up with a wide range of experience into the automation of the ESG services. And I'm so glad that he is here today to also, share his thoughts and comments on how the financial services are evolving. So Noman, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being here.
Walaikum salam ji. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we're very glad that we have another one of our speakers, Miss Sumreen Noman Ansari, who's also joined us. Sumreen, thank you so much for taking out time. I know it's in the night, but we are so glad that, you're going to give us a spin on the human resources side and you come up with a lot of experience in the domain. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Next up, we have Miss Alishba Khan, who is joining us also. She sits on the ACCA's Committee on Sustainability. So Alishba is joining us as well, comes up with a lot of accounting experience, and she'll be sharing her thoughts today as well. Thank you so much, Alishba, for joining us.
Thank you, Noor. It's glad to be part of the webinar.
Thank you. We are also joined in by Mr. Waji Zaman. Let me add him to the stage, who is an ESG consultant. Waji Saab comes up with a lot of risk management background as well. So, sir, we are really glad that you could take our time today as well.
Thank you for the invitation, Ji. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I know SN Gilani Saab is also here, but I believe that he's traveling, so his video isn't showing. But SN Saab, if you can hear us all well, So please let us know if you can unmute yourself and let us know if you are here with us so that we can take you along as well.
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Ji Bilkul, very much here. Glad to be part of this very learned panel. My apologies, actually, I'm traveling, so I'll not be able to switch on my video. So over to you, Ji. Happy to be contributing my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asan Saab. So glad. Have a safe journey. Let's start the conversation, जी. आइए. I think I'll start with Noman because हम इसको थोड़ा सा connect करते हैं जो हमारी previous conversations हुई हैं with regards to uh, different sectors की different demands है. हमने काफी different sectors की अभी तक बात कर ली है. Manufacturing sector की हमने बात की थी. हमने academia का role देखा, media का role देखा. नुमान फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज में कितना ज्यादा रोल है ESG की अडॉप्शन का और वो कौन सा पहला व्हाट्स द फर्स्ट दैट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट दैट यू बिलीव दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस शुड बी लुकिंग एट व्हेन दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ग्रेटर ESG adoption?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैं थोड़ा सा अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस कराऊंगा कि आई एम वर्किंग फॉर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच इज़ AI automation for ESG reporting solutions, GHG emissions, carbon accounting. हम उसमें एक्सटेंसिवली बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में प्राइवेट इक्विटी और वर्चुअल कैपिटल में वेंचर कैपिटल में हम इन्वेस्टेड हैं और हमारे सॉल्यूशंस बेसिकली ज़्यादातर सिस्टम्स और फाइनेंशियल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के ऑफरिंग में हम लोग लगाते हैं. So major challenges in international is this के budgeting सिर्फ चलें. ESG is most effectively this is a totally different domain considered as in businesses because this is something additional and a lot of people think कि ये एक added on cost है और ये सबसे बड़ा factor है even पाकिस्तान में भी and this is what I've faced a lot that they have to put separate budgets for all their planning and ESG reporting and obviously सब लोग इसको middle level tier में देखते हैं. So what I've as a business professional I've understood is that the more सस्टेनेबल और मोर प्रैक्टिस ओरिएंटेड यू आर कि आप ये जानते हैं कि आपके बिजनेस को कितनी डिमांड है ऑपरेशनली आपको कौन सी चीज़ों का फाइनेंशियली कंट्रोल है तो वो बेसिकली आपको किसी भी प्लानिंग के ऊपर आपको लॉन्ग टर्म में समझने को ज़्यादा देर ईजी लगता है. अब पाकिस्तान में आपको जब ESG में जाते हैं तो आपको ये लगाने से कि हमें बहुत ज़्यादा ESG प्रैक्टिशनर्स या सस्टेनेबिलिटी प्रैक्टिशनर्स सबको ये कन्विंस करने में चैलेंज होता है कि ये आपके लिए ही फ़ायदा है लॉन्ग रन में. तो अब लोग अपने रिस्क मैनेजमेंट में बेसिकली ये चीज़ें अभी इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं करते कि मुझे वन ऑफ माय कॉमन कनेक्शंस जिनसे मेरी रिसेंटली बात हो रही थी तो पाकिस्तान में फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस ऑडिट के जो इदारे हैं वो भी ये लोग वही बात करते हैं इंटरनली के बोर्ड के जो हेड्स हैं या CEOs हैं दे आर नॉट येट रेडी to get into discussion of going into sustainability or everything. हालांकि अगर आप कोई भी बिजनेस में जाते हैं तो उसमें सबसे पहले आप कोई भी रिस्क मैनेजमेंट देखते हो तो दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ द रिस्क कि आप एनवायरनमेंट को क्या इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हो आप सोशल फैक्टर्स को क्या इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हो गवर्नेंस के फैक्टर्स को क्या इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हो हैं ये वही चीज़ें हैं जो वो अपने ऑडिट में करते हैं बट ऑब्वियसली ये एक नई चीज़ है क्लाइमेट के साथ इंटीग्रेट होके ये चीज़ के ऊपर बात की जाती है तो दे थिंक दिस इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग. व्हाट आई बिलीव इन इज कि दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ द बिजनेस और ये सब चीज़ें उसी बिजनेस की एक पोर्शन है रादर देन थिंकिंग इट एज ए कॉस्ट. तो ज़्यादातर लोग इसको इस तरह सोचें. हमारे जो मेन कनेक्शन है उस्मान साहब भी वो ये रेगुलर बात करते हैं कि मोस्ट ऑफ द बिजनेसेस दिस इज वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग but many of the businesses we have to at least from being professionals we have to tell them that doing the right thing is actually the good thing. ये चीज़ नहीं होनी चाहिए which is the main थिंक कि ये ESG ये कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है कि ये नई चीज़ को उठा के लाई जा रही है. इट इज़ जस्ट कि वी आर डूइंग इट इन अ मच बेटर वे. जब आप किसी भी बिजनेस को इवॉल्व करते हो उसकी ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट को उसकी जो बेसिकली किसी भी स्पेंडिंग को आप किस तरह ऑप्टिमाइज करते हैं बेसिक ऑप्टिमाइजेशन है ये किसी भी बिजनेस के लिए ESG को ऊपर रन करना एंड इट इज़ नॉट एन एडिशनल कॉस्ट. सो ये चीज़ें समझाने के लिए बहुत जगह हमें अब एजुकेशन दिस इज़ व्हाई वी आर डूइंग दिस वेबिनार्स एंड एवरीथिंग. लॉन्ग टर्म सस्टेनेबिलिटी में क्या होता है कि आपके फाइनेंशियल डिसीजन सपोर्ट करते हैं आप अपने इन्वेस्टर्स को बता सकते हैं हम कितने अब तो इंटरनेशनली आपको पता है कोई बिजनेस आपको लेता ही नहीं है जब तक आप सस्टेनेबल नहीं होते. तो ये चीज़ें ऑब्वियसली दिस इज द मेन थिंग फॉर द स्टार्टर एंड आई कैन गो इन अ डिटेल ऑन द नेक्स्ट स्टेजेस ऑफ कन्वर्सेशन कि आप कैसे ट्रस्ट में जाते हैं आप अपनी रेपुटेशन कैसे करते हैं, और मतलब आप इवन लॉन्ग टर्म में जो चीज़ सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए किस तरह की चीज़ें चाहिए होती हैं, उसमें फर्दर ब्रेकडाउन्स में क्या क्या रिस्क हैं, बेसिकली आपकी वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है, आपकी एनर्जी मैनेजमेंट है, आपकी people management hai, how do you do all those things to optimize your business? And this is all part of the ESG solutions. It is nothing really, it's not a rocket science, it is not a separate subject, it is just the same thing but much more of a refined solution to running any business, any entity, any industry. So this is my point. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Noman, and absolutely rightly said कि जो आपने बात की specifically कि हम जो इसका risk cost versus benefit जो analysis है वो क्यों ज़रूरी है, और हमारा मकसद जो आपने सही कहा कि ना सिर्फ वेबिनार्स का ये करना है कि हम एक बहुत ही रोजी पिक्चर पेंट कर सकें, बट हम ये भी बताते हैं कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को कि जो स्ट्रगल रही है वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो कि अडॉप्ट कर चुकी हैं ईएसजी या अपनी जर्नी पे शुरू कर सकी हैं, वो पहले स्टेप्स फंडामेंटल्स क्या थे. सो विद दिस समरीन आई लाइक टू मूव टू यू बिकॉज ये एक स्लाइड डेक भी है आपकी तरफ से. सो आई हैव क्विकली गॉन थ्रू दिस एंड आई थिंक दिस सर्व्स एज अ वेरी गुड सेटिंग द सीन स्पेसिफिकली उन इदारों के लिए जो कि अभी अपनी जर्नीज को स्ट्रक्चर करने के प्रोसेस में है. सो समरीन, ओवर टू यू. आई होप दिस व्यू साउंड्स बेटर, एंड देन हम जो है आपको जो है इस तरीके से इसको लेके चलते हैं कि जहाँ पे हम स्लाइड डेक को देख सकें और ये अंडरस्टैंड कर सकें कि क्या हमें एसेंशियल्स हैं. सो ओवर टू यू समरीन.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, actually, I've tried to put up into a presentation. I had no idea if it's going to be a panel discussion or it's going to be a panel discussion supported by a presentation. So I tried to, put my thoughts into one frame wherein we would like to talk about, since I believe that we are in the stage, Pakistan is in the stage of primarily working towards the awareness of ESG, as my speaker, a previous speaker just mentioned that we should not consider it as a cost. We should consider it as the requirement in the market these days. And with that, we should have the basic awareness as to what, this country, our country is doing towards ESG initiatives and how are we contributing towards the economy. And since, finance is the backbone of any project, whatever, the project that you're bringing into the market, finance seems to be the backbone. If you don't have the finance in the feasibility report, nothing becomes possible. Everything is in order, but if you do not support that with an investment, then that everything goes in vain. All efforts goes in vain. So I believe that if you are putting finance into sustainable projects, then that can actually bring in the result. So let us just talk about, what are the different institutions that are part of the financial sector of Pakistan. Banks could be, investment companies are there, stock exchange is there, insurance companies are there, non-banking financial institutions are there. All these things are actually creating the financial sector of Pakistan, and there are two regulators, primarily SCCP and SBP, who are actually bringing in a lot of sustainable efforts towards making this financial effort in the country more sustainable. So this is what I wanted to put into this particular slide, wherein we're just talking about how finance can be put by these institutions properly into more sustainable projects. Can we just move on to the other slide? Thank you so much. Now, I would like to just mention a few of the areas that, are too much painful these days, because as we are navigating towards the future, we are actually coming across with number of issues, number of problems that are there. So, for example, the first and foremost is the fiscal and the current account deficit challenge that we are having into the economy, because it actually brings a lot of economic instability. It requires a lot of strategic reforms for sustainable growth. The other thing that we're actually facing these days in Pakistan is the external debt burden, which necessitates the strategic reforms to be built in Pakistan. Then we have the hike in the energy costs. The prices are too much high in energy sector. There are supply chain disruptions, and there's the currency depreciation as well when we talk about the international market. There's the food insecurity and number of issues relating to the crop cultivation and agriculture. if you dive in deep into the sustainable issues. Can we move on to the other topic slide, please? And then we have some infrastructure gaps also, like we don't have proper transportation in urban areas. We do not have electrical buses so that we can stop the carbon emission maybe in the air. So there are a number of infrastructure issues that are there in the country. When you again have the continuous problem of unemployment, the population growth is also very much high, and obviously there are limited job opportunities for the youth these days. So these are a number of the areas that are actually creating problems for us towards a more sustainable future, which necessitates us that we should actually work towards the sustainable finance in the country. So when we talk about the sustainability in the finance, we actually are talking about the strategies that we need to put in into our investment opportunities, into the financial inclusion side, by putting in the green financing and the impact financing into the country. I'm going to talk about it, and we all are going to be talking about it going forward. I would not like to discuss it in detail. आगे थोड़ी सी और detail है मज़ीद, तो let's move on to the other slide. Thank you so much. SPP actually has come up with a number of initiatives towards sustainable financing, and that includes the financial inclusion. I would be talking about it in detail going forward, but let us just pinpoint those areas that are really important. Financial inclusion by introduction of the microfinance banks. Then we have actually have gender equality by adding women to the working force in the country. Then we have the addition of special people employment policy in the country, wherein we are actually bringing in the differently abled people also into the market. Then we're also working towards green financing, and we're also introducing Islamic banking initiatives. So these are the different things that the country is doing. I do understand that we are in the initial phase, and we actually have to strive a lot into this direction. But I must say, and I must appreciate that we have chosen the right direction, and we've started working on it. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little about what financial inclusion is and how it is adding towards a more sustainable future. See, initially, banks were supposed to be for people who have a good amount of money and could keep deposits. And people who were like butchers, carpenters, the women who used to teach at home, like tuition centers. These were the organization, little employment opportunities that were actually not giving the opportunity to go into the bank and open their accounts, or maybe ask for a loaning facility. By introduction of the microfinance banks, actually what happened, the State Bank of Pakistan started the financial inclusion, by bringing in those the funds or the loaning facilities to those people who could not even think about it. And alhamdulillah, they are now doing much better by becoming part of the this total inclusion. Again, at the same time, by introducing the branchless banking, like say, for example, we are using Easy Pesa and Just Cash. These are the different opportunities that financially the country has introduced for the people who were deprived of these financial standings earlier. But this is how all those, you go to any of the shops, they are having Easy Pesa accounts, they're having Just Cash accounts, and they are actually banking with you. And this is how the country's money is actually getting counted. And now the total wealth of the nation can be actually reached at. Initially, only those organizations that were banking could be included in the wealth of the nation. But now those organizations and those people who are actually doing business in the country are finally getting included in the wealth of the nation. So this is called financial inclusion, and I believe it's a very good step. If, for example, there is any addition from any of the esteemed speakers here, you can just pinpoint, and we can just stop over there and talk about it.
Absolutely, Sumreen. We will go via once we have. I think this is a very good presentation because it is setting the scene for a lot of the discussion that has to follow. So please carry on.
Okay, thank you so much. So then there was another very important initiative by State Bank of Pakistan, which was gender equality by introducing by including the women in the employment opportunities by creating requirement for the banks to have women representation in every branch and in all the departments of the head office. So all the banks in Pakistan were required by State Bank of Pakistan, I believe some 10 years back, to make it mandatory for their HR department to hire women force in the employee base. And this actually triggered more women to start working. And obviously, we have young girls passing out from the university, but mostly the trend was not like that because of maybe the situations that we have, the society that we live in. Most of the women were not very much encouraged by their families to go and start working, but with this different opportunities available in the market, they started thinking about it, and now we have a good number of women in the market who are actually performing very well. So this was one of the thing. And then in the gender equality for women, there was another thing that the State Bank of Pakistan did. They actually introduced certain loaning facility for women on very subsidized rates, so that women can actually enter into entrepreneurship through Prime Minister Youth Program, through many other different initiatives that can actually provide the women the power to enter into entrepreneurship, maybe go for the loaning facility on subsidized rates and enter into the business. So these were the two very big initiatives by State Bank towards women inclusion. Then there was another very good initiative that related to special people employment policy. Why? Because they're differently able. That does not stop them from becoming a very good part of our economy. And keeping that in mind, they are now financially included into the economy by giving them employment opportunities. So this is how the government is actually taking care of every sector. Even transgenders are given the opportunity to start working, and they are given an employment quota in different sectors so that they can play and perform and can actually become part of the economy. Next, please. Then we have the green financing started. Green financing is basically the financing facilities for those organizations who are actually working towards eco-friendly products, who are actually manufacturing products that are actually adding to the sustainability of the country. They are low cost, they do not emit carbon, they actually are involved into maybe renewable energy programs. So these were the areas that were introduced by the government for those companies who are actually into such kind of business, and they are offered low and subsidized rates, interest rates, loaning facility, and also number of other opportunities and embargoes and subsidies as well. Yes, please. So there were a number of things that were introduced. I mean, like we would be talking about it, like, investment in the water cycling, desalination of plants, and maybe, efficient irrigation system. There can be number of different things introduced by the government and by the private sector, because we would have to mutually work towards the green infrastructure, towards an investment towards digital governance and transparent reporting of ESG, because I believe that this is the only thing that is left, and we all need to work towards more transparent work, because greenwashing bhi bahut zyada ho rahi hai, and a lot of different institutions are actually showing what is not the picture, and we should not be doing that. And to make it more transparent, I believe that there has to be some online or digital aspect element introduced by government and the private sector, so that we can actually report what is right and do not fabricate the reports. So this was actually my take, and we can
Thank you
start.
so much, Sumreen. I think a very holistic, a very well presented view. As the director of ICMA as well, we could see that, when accounting bodies who are actually completing that triage of what you're saying in terms of policy, and then the people who are the adopters, I'd like to say, and under the adopters, we include all of the institutions as well, and then the academia's role. So thank you so much for touching base, and I'd like to now, open up the conversation. And Waji Saab, let me come to you now. in terms of, we've spoken about a lot about, green financing. We've spoken about, पहले हमारा जो challenge होता था वो ये था कि जी हमारे पास financing की कमी है, वो तो अब हमेशा से ही है. But as we can see from Sumreen's presentation as well, and also what has been going on recently in terms of the regulators taking more and more pain towards ensuring that there is financing available. तो वहाँ पे रिस्क असेसमेंट कितनी ज़रूरी है वजी साहब कि ये जो ग्रीन वॉशिंग है वो ना हो, और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो हम शुरू में बात कर रहे थे कि कॉस्ट वर्सेस द बेनिफिट, how important is that, and how can organizations actually do their own risk assessments ताकि वो process adoption का आसान हो जाए.
First of all, Ji, thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation. I think Sumreen, gave an overview of what is happening in the market. Let me talk to you more about how the banks are dealing with this, and not only from the ESG perspective, but from also from green banking perspective. By that, I mean State Bank's lens, which from our side, Soneri Bank, what they've done in the recent years, and where we are at the moment. And this sort of kind of applies across board. अगर आप industry को देखेंगे तो how the industry is working, especially the banks, how they are working. Let me begin with what State Bank started in 2017 by adopting Green Bank guidelines, or GBG, जिसे हम generally 2017 की जो guidelines हैं. They rolled that out. They gave us three sort of aspects where we were supposed to sort of like work. I mean, it was like three spaces to build on. One was which was own impact, which was very critical. The emissions that we were generating as a company. The second part was the products or the business facilitation part, where State Bank sort of pushed the banks, financial organizations like banks, to come up with the products that are eco-friendly, which promote sustainability, and that's where the renewable energy projects and financing came in. And now with that, then State Bank sort of introduced an ESRM. At that time it was ESRR. Now it's sort of like ESRM, which actually captures environmental and social risk management aspect of the conversation. So the whole landscape sort of has developed, in this space. With that, when you start looking at green banking, and I'm going to focus on green banking first, and then I'm going to do ESG and what we've done in ESG. With green banking, my learning experience started, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, where I personally had to sort of go through the process of learning. I went and took certification from World Bank, IFC, just to sort of like learn the parameters and sort of like understand what State Bank is talking about, because you gotta you can't look at this from like the issue is very nuanced in nature, right? So you have to look at it from not only from local perspective but from international perspective as well. So all these guidelines were actually coming down from World Bank, IFC, and then down to central bank, right? And then central banks were pushing, or central bank was pushing these guidelines to the banks. In this, what I learned and I built on that is something which we as a bank are very proud of. What we did was we took the guidelines and we also took in 2022 November, State Bank of Pakistan also sort of rolled out more detailed ESRM mechanism, which was embedded in the banking system, and that sort of took the what they asked us to do was to start focusing on the lending part of the portfolio. Now that the banks are sort of like fully aware of what is required by State Bank of Pakistan, we start focusing on giving out loans. I mean, this is, mind you, this is at this stage is voluntary, but will be becoming mandatory by the end of 2025.
Vadi
Right? So,
Saab, if I can, sorry, add one thing, because I think this is a very interesting conversation piece that you have brought up. कि देखें banks को भी जहाँ पे अपने loan portfolio को increase करना है,
right.
वो एक बहुत एक tangible output है, right? That's something that, you know, as a banker, and Essence, please feel free to join in the conversation as well, because we would like to have that viewpoint as well, that वो जो voluntary चीज़ थी उसकी adoption से, उस practice से, उस best practice से, if you can share that what was the short term and the long term win, if we could see for the bank in terms of more consumer base, more loan portfolios. What was it that was actually a tangible, I would say, I don't want to say profit, but I want to say a tangible low hanging fruit that the bank was able to achieve?
So with with ESRM kicking in, what we sort of analyzed, or we still analyzing, we are still building up that data, and we are still analyzing that data. The difficulty that let me talk about the. I mean, there's one part which is risk. There's one part which covers the opportunities. Obviously, the risk part was the physical risk of assets, right? So so any time I'm giving out a loan, I'm taking sort of a risk, right? Because I'm lending out to customers, right? So but within that there are opportunities, right? So so there are a lot of companies in the market, corporates, medium-sized enterprises. They were interested in sort of adopting ESG framework because they were trading outside Pakistan, and there were compulsions, cross-border compulsions, जहाँ पे mechanisms जो हैं वो were setting in, जहाँ पे you could not really send out or export material if you're not compliant, right? So a lot of the larger corporates, a lot of the companies started thinking about यार कि ये देखो banks to push कर रहे हैं, banks आहिस्ता they're trying to change the mindsets, they're trying to build that sort of narrative because it's voluntary. They're trying to build that narrative that this is green banking, this is important, this is what needs to be done. Low-hanging fruits, I'm sure low-hanging fruits, I mean, there's, when you're changing mindsets, it's always difficult to change mindsets. That's just the nature of the game, right? It's transformative. When you're transforming, it's always difficult to change mindsets. So with customers, it was the same sort of challenge for the banks, right? And I mean, it's still, it's going on. So for us, an easiest sell was renewable energy, right? Because renewable energy ke saath hame ye fayda hua कि we saw price hikes in energy bills. You saw there was an uptake जहाँ पे बिजली के बिल जो हैं, घरों के बिल जो हैं वो जो पहले किसी के अगर 30,000 40,000 आ रहे थे तो वो 1 लाख, 1.25 लाख, 1.5 लाख पे पहुंच गए, right? So all of a sudden people started realizing यार देखो ये, I think this is getting out of hands, and we need to focus on renewable energy. So State Bank obviously had a scheme, refinance scheme, which was rolled out in renewable energy, and the banks sort of capitalized on that. And I shouldn't say it was low-hanging fruit. I think it's just it became a necessity for a lot of the people in the market, especially consumers, who started transitioning toward renewable, right? And by the way, renewable energy has tremendous opportunity. I mean, we really haven't even haven't really started that journey. We're like we're just taking off as we speak, right? There's fuels, biodiesel, which has been produced, been sent across Europe as we speak. We blended on that portfolio, right? So to our client. So ये चीजें जो है, they're evolving now. People are getting more aware of it. And with that, they're also have started realizing that this is going to happen. This is inevitable, and they need to start incorporating E&S into their business models. So
Absolutely.
इसके अंदर एक ट्रिकी पार्ट ये था कि एक तो इमिशंस का पार्ट है, एक एक सोसाइटी को जो आप हार्म कर रहे हैं बाय नॉट taking those corrective measures where you're impacting the society. That was one part, and also you're not including the gender in your framework, right? And different able people as well,
Absolutely.
like Sumreen said.
Yeah.
Central bank sort of took like that holistic view on it. Abhi ESG nahi aaya tha. ESG was like, it was developing and taking shape, and things were happening. People were talking about it. Abhi ye nahi hua tha, but central banks started doing this, and like somebody covered this. State Bank already sort of pushed on D&I. Suneri was one of those banks which adopted it. We actually had targets for it. There were matrices, targets set for D&I. So we started doing that. We started actually following it up with our HR, what you guys are doing, right? And so whilst we were doing this, we also started building capacity, like you said, and that's extremely important, right? So what we did, we started with our management committees. We had a session with the committee. An external consultant was engaged. We had that session. We sort of like imparted an awareness workshop with them. Then we went to the board, and we said, listen, hey, management, yes. Management is the deals with the policy, with the execution side of green, but you gotta start
And
thinking about
strategy.
the large picture, right? You gotta start thinking about the policy and the framework. So we went to the board and we sort of like gave them awareness of it. And to our surprise, they were very open about it, because they figured out that there's a lot of opportunity that a bank can access to. By that I mean a lot of opportunity in the green taxonomy, which is taking shape now, right?
Absolutely.
So the uptake, I would say, is the carbon markets, right? If you start looking at it from the bank's lens, we as a bank, are now playing in a field where we can go and finance these projects, and people can, corporates can not only sort of invest in these green projects and generate revenues by trading those carbon credits. The banks can also, now invest and sort of accumulate those carbon credits and sort of trade them in the
So,
international
so,
market.
so, Buddy Saab, this is a very interesting aspect, and that was going to be my next question, actually, to Ehsan Saab and yourself as well. That that low-hanging fruit is already in front of us, as I see it,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
we have seen the journey. जो आप भी बात कर रहे थे, तो मुझे ये realization हो रही थी कि जहाँ पे आपके पास जो KYC हो रही है banks की, that is now more detailed and more ingrained in terms of what is the consumer actually demanding. Because if we see now, when we are talking more about, let's say, putting a tech element into our normal processes for which banks used to be the lenders, especially जब हम MF5 की बात करते हैं, MF20 की बात करते हैं, तो उनका तो सारा काम एग्री टेक पे ही हो रहा था. उनका ज्यादातर काम हो रहा था रूरल सेक्टर से जो लोग अपने चीजों के लिए जो कर्जे लेते हैं. So, Ehsan Saab, I want to now come in here with what Wadi Saab is saying, and if you can share your viewpoint in terms of, I've been doing some US-led webinars where they're saying that the green taxonomy is such a regulated sector, where a lot of companies, a lot of organizations have taken it up as an opportunity कि जी carbon credits के ऊपर हम काम करेंगे. पाकिस्तान में हम आज जो बच्चे carbon credits की बात कर रहे हैं या कोई ट्रेडिंग प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना चाह रहे हैं, उनको हम अभी यूरोप की या यूएस मार्केट की एग्जांपल देते हैं. यूएस में मुझे अभी नहीं पता कि पिछले 2 हफ्ते में क्या हो रहा है. आई एम गोइंग लाइव, आई शुड बी केयरफुल, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ एहसन साहब, पाकिस्तान के लिए जो ग्रीन टेक्सोनॉमी है हमारी, उसको रेगुलेट होते हुए, हाउ डू यू सी द फ्यूचर एंड हाउ डू यू सी दैट बैंक्स वुड टेक इट एज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी?
Thank you very much, Ji, all of you. excellent, contribution from all of us in this webinar, especially Vaji Saab and Sumreen Sahaba and Nauman Saab. Yeah, let me just give you 2 minutes of the background. I am a career banker. I have worked in banking for the last 20 years. Now with the UN for the last 3 years. And I have also worked in the energy sector. When I came into the program, my program basically is to raise funding for the clean tech and green financing startups and gender related projects. So when I came to the program, it was already been 2 years since the program started, minus the COVID time, and we had raised zero amount of money. So when I got in, they said, "Kids, we have to go. We have to raise money in next 2 years, and our target is $80 million." And I had 48 projects in this area of climate change, which is biomass, gender-led, renewable energy, EV, जिस तरह समीन साहब ने कहा, and उसके बाद ये अपना rice husk, data center, anything to do with the green environment and environment-friendly projects. So I started out, using my contacts. Almost all the CEOs of the banks, the CRs are friends of mine. So I went around for 6 months and I had zero success because there is 32 billion rupee in credit from the banking industry at the moment. Out of that 32 trillion, out of that 32 trillion, 23 trillion is with the government of Pakistan. That gives you a room of around 10 trillion, which is with the private sector, which is like the Manshas and the Malik Riaz and whatnot of this country. So where do we come in? We have no window. Plus, my credit would be very, very cheap because they're all startups. They're all green financing. They will not pay you 20% or 26% or 27%. And when I came into this program, it was the transition from the previous government to this government. So the company was really, really bad. And nobody wanted to lend to Pakistan. And the rates were around 24 to 35%. What do I do? So I sat down and I mapped each and every project with the banks and the DFIs who I could target, who have the appetite. But to do that, I had to run a series of seminars through NIBAF, because when I invite banks to come and listen to me to re-track the risk assessment for these projects, which is not conventional, which is a specialized project and it needs specialized risk, specialized credit assessment, okay, people can understand this. Nobody came. So when I contacted NIBAF, NIBAF said, okay, we are State Bank and we can basically twist the arm of the banks and we can bring people on board. So we gave a mandate to NIBAF. And after doing 4 seminars back to back on what exactly green financing is, what gender financing is, what ESG is, I was able to crack my first deal with Pak Brunei. And I raised 20 million rupees for a women-led project under the women's scheme, which Sumreen Sahaba was talking about. 2 years down the track today, when my program is ending, I have raised $55 million from the Pakistani banks, DFIs, investors regionally. So where does the gap lies? Okay, the $330 billion is required for Pakistan to counter the devastating floods and the devastating effects we have faced from these climate change. And how much do we contribute to the climate change? 1%, less than 1%. आपने बात की carbon credits की, the biggest carbon emissions are the US and the Chinese, and they are the biggest beneficiary of the carbon credits. How ironic is that? Now, Pakistan has come a long way. Being part of the UNIDO, UN, we have come a long way. We now have told State Bank of Pakistan to have a director, which in the bank, which should be ESG director. जिस तरह आपको पता है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान का रूल है कि एक खातून डायरेक्टर होना जरूरी है हर बैंक में, हर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी में, पब्लिक लिमिटेड कंपनी में. इस तरह से starting from June 2025, the State Bank will start policy with SCP to have a ESG director in the board. And that board will have a committee, and that board committee will have an ESG expert, जिस तरह वजी साहब हैं, ठीक है, जिस तरह और बैंकों में ग्रीन फाइनेंसिंग के लोग आ रहे हैं. This initiative we took with the government of Pakistan to ensure that we contribute and we have the right pathway towards the green financing. Environment is something which is very, very, very critical for us to survive. फिर हमने बात की जेंडर की. देखें जी, बात ये है कि I did a program with SME Bank when I started my career, and we had a funding from ADB, and we gave money to rural women, which used to be digital credit to rural women, and we had disbursed around $1 lakh back in 2003 when I started banking. And guess what was the default rate? 0%.
0%.
All these women were non-educated, were housewives, and they gave all the money back within 6 months.
Wow.
Today, the people do not see their wives as housewives. I'm not talking about Islamabad and Lahore and Karachi and metropolitan cities. I'm talking about the rural Pakistan. I'm talking
Rules.
about Tharparkar, Fatehjang, Khushab. That's where our programs are. Now, every man, every farmer, every villager takes his wife as a partner, economic partner, to do something to contribute to the house. That mindset has changed. Okay, we have to go a long way. We're not even 2% of what we were should have been, but it's changing. Then let's talk about sustainability. देखिए, आपका social setup जो है वो इस तरह का है कि where you need to understand कि days are gone for the salaried class. हम लोग, I'm 51 years old. I'm an obsolete resource now. ठीक है? Tomorrow belongs to my kids, your kids. Tomorrow belongs to entrepreneurs. How do you bring entrepreneurs? You bring entrepreneurs by giving them the right platforms. You have the likes of AKDN, which is the Akhan Development Network, the Access Prosperity, the Karandas, the NICs, who are doing a tremendous job with the UN, with us, to develop these entrepreneurs. When I go and talk to people, I tell them, do not encourage your kids to become salaried class. Train them to become entrepreneurs. Okay. Is entrepreneurship के अंदर, you have to understand, we have a vast कहते हैं opportunities in clean tech, in AI, ठीक है, in green financing. आपने बात की, आपका जो सवाल था, let me come back to the carbon markets का. देखिए, carbon
Yeah.
markets के अंदर बहुत जरूरी है कि Pakistan is very far behind in regulating the carbon markets, because people don't even understand carbon markets are. Carbon markets are basically credits which you earn through a certification, a gold certification and a Vera certification, which are two criteria. Gold is it's issued in US, and Vera is through USAID and government of US, जो आपको recognize करती है कि आप carbon credits के हकदार होते हैं. And then these carbon credits come to you when you prove them that you are controlling these emissions. We are nowhere there because most of our work is not regulated. ठीक है?
Yes.
अभी वजी साहब ने बात की, आपके पास गुजरावाला के अंदर ऐसे लोग बैठे हैं जो कि फॉर मेकिंग पैनल्स, बल्कि जबकि दुनिया का रूल ये है कि अनलेस यू हैव the specific identification number of a panel, it is cannot be taken as a panel which is controlling carbon emission. If you go to Gujarat, you have panels available for 500 rupees. ठीक है? So you have to understand that there is a lot we have to do from the regulatory point of view. What I've done is not a wonder. I have just done what you need to do is to educate the market, educate the banks, educate the investment companies. Okay, bhai, this is the need of tomorrow. ठीक है? याद रखें, let's not talk about what our forefathers left us. Let's talk about what we will leave our children and our grandchildren. ठीक है? ESG is as essential as the air you're breathing today. Iskandar, you need to understand you cannot enter the next century if you do not have the women force up to 40%. Either women, you don't have the women in the workforce up to 40% or entrepreneurs as women. You really can't. So what I am telling you is that banks need to, step up, commercial banks especially, because government of Pakistan को आप पैसा देके या पैसा देके आप to manchas, you're earning a good profit, you're getting a promotion, but what are you contributing to the society? Banks have evolved. I will totally give that to Vaji Saab, Sonari Bank and the second tier banks, Pastel Bank, Sonari Bank, they have evolved. But the big banks are far behind. Unless they have a spread of like 8%, they would not look at your credit. Whereas startups, green tech, gender, social programs cannot pay that spread. They start with 3 to 6%. आपने बात की government schemes की, state bank की, Sumreen साहबा ने, they're excellent. But who do they go to? Not to us. They go to those people, ठीक है, who have influences. And now तो अब तो हाल ये है कि you have lines available, and Vaji sir will correct me. You have lines available, and you go and apply for a line, and they say, सर लाइट तो अवेलेबल है लेकिन जगह नहीं है, तो जब स्पेस आएगी तो आपको देंगे। एंड यू नो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एंटरप्रेन्योर, if you take 30 seconds from entrepreneur's life, you take half of his project. So that is something.
Absolutely.
So that's why thoughts were welcome to
No, thank you so much, Esan Sahab. I think very rightly pointed out, and I think आपने हमें scope का भी बता दिया ना कि वो opportunity, challenge को opportunity में कैसे change किया है. Let me come around to Alishba, because what you are also mentioning, Esan Sahab, कि जो the role of women also in the entire I would say the ecosystem is really important. आपने रूरल women की भी बात की. Climate change हमें पता है कि उसमें सबसे ज़्यादा जो affected हैं वो women ही हैं in terms of you can say migration. Floods की बात की एहसन साहब ने, उसके अंदर भी जो सबसे पहला stakeholder जो कि maximum affected होता है वो Alishba होता है. So Alishba, I like you to comment. Somebody there are essentially we're still far behind in terms of the financial services sector. ख़वातीन उसमें कम है by a landmark in the country. वहाँ पे उनकी voices टेबल पे पुट करना, बोर्ड के डिसीजन पे, जिस तरह वदी साहब कह रहे थे कि पुट अप करना, coming in from a women, how important do you think is the role of women in terms of the ESG frameworks when we talk about?
Thank you, Noorulain. First of all, thank you for inviting me to share my insights in the valuable webinar and the discussion. So we have great speakers, Esan Saab, Waji, Noman, Sumreen, and you as well. And we had great discussion more about around all the regulatory framework which is applicable in Pakistan, some projects from the development sector, because we have people from the development sector and private both. So taking it further, एहसन साहब ने जैसे मेंशन किया कि वुमेन्स की जो है, क्योंकि एहसन साहब डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर में भी काम करते हैं और जो है आईएफआईस के साथ भी इंगेज है, यूएन एजेंसीज के साथ भी इंगेज है, तो कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स जो है, अभी अगर हम रीसेंट फ्लड्स की बात करें, फ्लड 2022 की, इसमें जो मेजर जो स्टेक होल्डर जो इफेक्ट हुआ है वो वुमेन हुई, हर एज ग्रुप की, उसमें हर जो है डिफरेंट टाइप के सिनेरियोज बने, इस और उनकी प्रॉब्लम्स जो थी उस हालात में, उस डिजास्टर के हालात में काफ़ी जो है मुश्किल थी. ऑफ कोर्स बैंक सामने आए, उनको बहुत से प्रोजेक्ट्स रन हुए जिसमें हाउसिंग रिकंस्ट्रक्शन का है, जिसमें उनको कुछ जो है उनकी नीडी आइटम्स प्रोवाइड करने का है, ऑल ओवर रन हुआ. इस टाइम जो है उस तरह से ओचा का यूएन ओचा का जो रोल है प्रोमिनेंटली सामने नहीं आया, लेकिन अपने अपने लेवल पे जो भी अंडर द 4RF फ्रेमवर्क जो भी जो वल्नरेबल एरियाज थे, सिंध, बलूचिस्तान एंड केपीके के प्राइमरीली वहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट्स रन हुए हैं. उसमें जितने भी प्रोजेक्ट्स अभी करंटली अगर हम वुमेन सेंट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट्स की बात करें और डिजास्टर्स की, अभी रिसेंट एक जो सबसे बड़ा डिजास्टर फ्लड 2022 का है उसकी बात करें, तो उसमें फोकस जो है वुमेन को किया गया है, लेकिन उसको मजीद जो है ठीक है, हमने कर लिया, जो डिजास्टर से उनकी रिकवरी की बात करनी थी वो तो हमने कर ली, ठीक है, लेकिन ये शॉर्ट टर्म आपका सोल्यूशन आ गया, लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म के ऊपर हमारे पास इस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट्स होने चाहिए जिसमें स्किल ट्रेनिंग हो. जैसे अभी मेरे फेलो स्पीकर ने बात की थी कि हमने जो है उनके मतलब वुमेन को इस तरह से ट्रेन किया, उनकी स्किल ट्रेनिंग इस तरह से की कि उनके पार्टनर्स, दे आर नॉट टेकिंग देम एज अ a family member, but as a partner in इकोनॉमिक इनपुट ऑफ द फैमिली. उससे ये होता है कि आपकी वुमेन की सिर्फ ये नहीं होता कि आपके हाउस होल्ड की इनकम जो है वो ज़्यादा होती है, बल्कि एक डिग्निटी का लेवल रूरल एरियाज में वो भी जो है आपका एक वुमेन का, अगर बिकॉज आई एम माई सेल्फ अ वुमेन, जो आप भी, हम भी लेडीज आप हैं, तो शायद आप उस परस्पेक्टिव से देख सकती हैं कि उनकी एक वैल्यू विद इन द हाउस, विद इन द सोसाइटी, और उनका एक कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल भी जो है इन ट्रेनिंग्स के थ्रू जो है एक डिफरेंट लेवल पे आ जाता है. वो अपने लिए भी बोलती हैं, अब दूसरी वुमेन्स के लिए जो नहीं बोल सकती उनके लिए भी, जो आपने बात अभी नूर की कि टेबल पे किस तरह लेके आया जाए. हम जो है जो हम डेवलप सेक्टर में काम करते हैं या हम शहरों में रहते हैं या हम एजुकेटेड हैं, हम तो ये कर लेते हैं, हम राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में बोल लेते हैं, अभी बोल लिया हमने. हाँ, अभी जैसे हम जो है वजी साहब ने मेंशन किया, एहसन ने मेंशन किया, एहसन साहब ने कि जो है बोर्ड की कमेटी में भी एक वुमेन का होना ज़रूरी है, ठीक है, कॉर्पोरेट लेवल पे हमने बोल लिया, डिसीजन मेकिंग लेवल पे बोल लिया, लेकिन उन वुमेन का कहाँ क्या होगा जो रूरल उसमें है, जो असल इफेक्टीज हैं डिजास्टर के, क्लाइमेट चेंज के, क्योंकि मैं ACCA सस्टेनेबिलिटी ESG एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज कमेटी को रिप्रेजेंट करती हूँ. तो मैं क्लाइमेट चेंज के ऊपर ज़्यादा फोकस करूँगी और इसी थीमेटिक एरिया में मैं करंटली डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर में इन्वॉल्व भी हूँ प्रोजेक्ट्स में। उन वुमेन्स के ऊपर हमें ज़्यादा फोकस करना चाहिए क्योंकि हमें एक्चुअली देखना है जो ग्राउंड पे हिट हो रहे हैं, जो ग्राउंड पे अफेक्टेड हो रहे हैं। अगर हम स्किल ट्रेनिंग के प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हैं, अगर हम रिकवरी के कुछ इस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हैं जो कि प्रोजेक्ट्स हो भी रहे हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल हाउसिंग रिकंस्ट्रक्शन का प्रोजेक्ट है, उसमें जो है आप जो है वुमेन की भी ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं कि घर अगर बनाना है तो उसमें उनका क्या रोल हो सकता है। जो बेसिक जो है मेंशन ट्रेनिंग्स हो गई, सारा कुछ ये हो इस तरह की होगी। स्किल ट्रेनिंग में अगर उनकी लाइवलीहुड इफ़ेक्ट हो गई है, तो उनको एक ट्रेनिंग दें और साथ आप उनको सिलाई मशीन दें। साथ आप उनको और कोई इस तरह की किट्स दे दें, निटिंग किट्स वगैरह जिससे वो अपना काम करें और बिज़नेस स्टार्ट करें। और उनको सपोर्ट करें और ट्रेन करें कि वो अपना एक छोटे लेवल पे बिजनेस करें और ग्रेजुअली इसी तरह आप ग्रो करते हैं। इस तरह तो इसमें अगर इस तरह की हम ट्रेनिंग्स करेंगे, इस तरह हम रूरल वुमेन्स को सपोर्ट करेंगे और प्रोजेक्ट्स में इनकॉर्पोरेट करेंगे और इंश्योर करेंगे कि इम्प्लीमेंटेशन भी हो और शॉर्ट टर्म और लॉन्ग टर्म दोनों को फोकस करें, तो इसमें सिर्फ उनकी लाइवलीहुड नहीं इंक्रीज होगी उस एरिया की, बल्कि उस स्पेसिफिक विलेज यूसी या आप जिस भी कम्युनिटी की बात करें उसकी इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू भी, इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट भी ज़्यादा होगी अपने एरिया में। उस वुमेन वो जो वुमेन है उसकी कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग होगी, वो बात करेगी अपने लिए, अपनी नेक्स्ट जनरेशंस के लिए। वो जो इश्यूज़ हैं जो कि हम हर माशरा में, पाकिस्तानी माशरे को नहीं कहूँगी लेकिन हर उसमें ये होता है कि जो दबा दिए जाते हैं वो उनको टेबल पे लाएगी, उनके राइट्स के लिए बात करेगी और उधर से टेक अप करके दो सिटिंग इन द बोर्ड मेंबर्स, वुमेन सिटिंग इन द एज़ अ मेंबर ऑफ बोर्ड ऑफ एनी कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर और किस लेवल पे जब उनको पता चलेगा कि एक्चुअल इश्यूज क्या है, प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है, चैलेंजेस क्या है और उनके सॉल्यूशंस भी वही बताएंगी क्योंकि वो उसका वो कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड हो चुका होगा, उसको पता होगा कोई सपोर्ट करने वाला है, कोई सुनने वाला है, कोई ट्रेन करने वाला है, तो उससे आप उसको आगे लेके जा सकते हैं। लेकिन ये चीजें जो है इसको सिर्फ फाइनेंशियल पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं देखना चाहिए हमें जब भी हम प्रोजेक्ट्स डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, जब भी हम जो है डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क्स की बात करें, क्योंकि ईएसजी टॉक्स अबाउट इन्वायरमेंट, सोशल एंड गवर्नेंस। तो इसको ईएसजी को सिर्फ हमें एक ठीक है, हम एक उसको वाइडर पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं। हमने बैंक्स का देख लिया कि किस तरह उसके ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं। डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर असर साहब को बहुत डिटेल में उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया कितने प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं। आईएफआईज वगैरह का ये मैंडेटरी फ्रेमवर्क होता है कि आप जेंडर लेंस से हर प्रोजेक्ट को स्क्रीन करें और ये इसका पार्ट होता है। लेकिन इसको हमें इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव्स के अलावा सोशो इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव के लेंस से भी देखना होगा और इसको एक कॉन्क्रीट, क्वांटिटेटिव एंड क्वालिटेटिव फॉर्म में एक प्रोजेक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट में इनकॉर्पोरेट करना होगा। देन इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करके इसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी करनी होगी, इंश्योरिंग दैट दीज इंडिकेटर्स आर they are actually producing the results in the quantitative and qualitative form. इसके लिए बेसिक इसके लिए डिफरेंट साइंटिफिक अप्रोच होती है, जैसे नूर आपने बात की कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस की। आईएफआईज के जितने भी जो बैंक्स हैं, वर्ल्ड बैंक हो गया, एडीबी हो गया, ये सारे इनकी कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस होती है, इनका क्राइटेरिया होता है, उसके बेसिस पे जो है इनकी डिसीजन मेकिंग होती है। सो दीज साइंटिफिक अप्रोचेस एक्चुअली एग्जिस्ट. They also exist in the frameworks of UN agencies and the banks as well and other development partners as well. Private sector भी इसको consider करता है जब हम banks वगैरह की बात करें। तो इसको एक प्रॉपर जो है ना अप्रोच के साथ, साइंटिफिक अप्रोच के साथ स्क्रूटनाइज होना चाहिए, डॉक्यूमेंट होना चाहिए, इम्प्लीमेंट होना चाहिए एंड देन मूविंग फर्दर इसको पॉलिसी लेवल पे आना चाहिए। तो आई विल टॉक मोर अबाउट द रूरल वुमेन जो क्लाइमेट चेंज से इफेक्ट होती हैं, उनकी जो है राइट्स के ऊपर भी हमें काम करना चाहिए।
Absolutely.
थैंक
No,
यू।
thank you so much, Alishba. I think inclusion, वही समरीन से जब हम शुरू की थी हमने बात, तो हमने inclusion की भी बात की थी और I want to tie up the conversation because I just realized that it's already been an hour since we have been talking. But the most important aspect here with representatives from the banking sector, ICMA, Alishba, you're representing ACCA as well. I want to understand and take, like, a short comment from everyone in terms of where do you think is the capacity building efforts should be focused on. क्या हमें प्राइवेट सेक्टर को खुद या इंस्टीट्यूशंस को खुद अपनी कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग के ऊपर जाना चाहिए? वदी साहब ने वही बात कही थी और हम वन वेबिनार आफ्टर द अदर वही बात कर रहे हैं कि जब चीज़ें मैंडेटरी होंगी तो चीज़ें मुख्तलिफ दिखना शुरू होंगी. बट if we were to focus our energies on building our capacities, be it institutions, be it I would say the different sectors, be it the regulator. Samreen, I'll start off with you and then we'll go around the room. Where do you think our energy should be focused on?
Thank you so much, Noorulain. Actually, this is the thing that I do in the market. I am actually developing capacities of people sitting at Center of Excellence at ICMA, and we are working on bringing in skill set and empowerment to people in terms of how well they should be aware about what is happening in the market to be better able to address the issues and handle them. So I believe that we've been talking about it earlier as well with Noman and Usman Saab also, that we should be now working on bringing in some programs in the market that relates to capacity building in terms of ESG, because nonetheless, although we all are belonging from the same area and we understand what ESG is and what sustainability factors are and how should we what should be our direction, but at the same time the number of people, like only 20%, I believe, or maybe 10% people in the country are aware about these things. And we
Lesser,
have a big,
lesser,
lesser than
lesser.
that, maybe then.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. So we have a big responsibility on our shoulders to bring in this knowledge and information to people so that they are better aware as to what future holds and what is their responsibility as an individual, as a Pakistani, as a citizen, how they should be contributing towards the whole sustainability game which is being going on. I mean, as Essence have just mentioned that yes, everybody has to understand and realize कि किस तरीके से हमने अपना part contribute करना है, and everybody is part of the system. So let us create awareness, and we are wholeheartedly working towards it and creating programs on sustainability. And I believe that a lot of programs should come voluntarily, and a lot of these conferences, the thing that you're doing a wonderful job, mashallah. So it has to reach every other person, and it has to be marketed a lot so that people get to know what it is. And they realizing it, they should also move into the trainings related to energy, renewable energies, and maybe climate change and agriculture. ज़्यादा specific trainings पे भी जाने की हमें ज़रूरत है after creating this awareness. So I believe that the first and foremost thing is capacity building.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Vajisa, your thoughts on the same?
Ji, so I'll do this. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. एक तो जी पहली चीज ये है कि नुमान साहब बैठे हुए हैं. Integration of technology into the banking system, because I represent banking. So integration of technology into banking system, AI, we've already done that. For ESG, that's been rolled out next week. So we are very, very excited to do that. We are also implementing the ESG framework. That will be another achievement for us.
Excellent news.
So ek to ye cheez hai, this is something, to avoid the greenwashing part, to keep it very crisp and clean. All the data needs to go in. And we monitor that data. We sit on top of it and we monitor it to ensure nothing goes into the system, which is optics, right? And
Yeah.
has no real impact on the society. First,
Wonderful.
let me come to you. Let me talk to you quickly about the capacity building part. As far as I'm concerned, and what we are doing right now is we've taken multi-pronged strategy. We've done what we are doing is we're building capacity for the bankers, through NABAF and through other consultants. I'm personally delivering sessions on ESG, how ESG is done, what is ESG represents, its scopes, emissions, the whole 9 yards, right? I'm talking about carbon markets, though it's a slightly a difficult subject to grasp at the moment because it's been rolled out and hasn't been talked a lot about, but we understand it. I understand it at least. So it's our responsibility that we start talking about it because there's money to be made, not only by the banks, but it provides an opportunity and a platform for everybody in Pakistan to sort of like grasp the opportunity and start making some money. There are trade-offs. There are brokers. Process. It's not very difficult to understand. It seems as if obviously there are verifications. It's slightly expensive. We understand that there are bodies which sit outside Pakistan. You have to get them verified. but things are happening in Pakistan as well. So we and Pakistan is doing a lot, by the way. So that part, I assure you, banks are working on it. We've taken this strategy where we are building capacity for the bankers, so that not only on the lending side, but the bankers who are actually interacting with the consumers on the daily basis within the branches, and and talk to, and even by the way, building the capacity so that when they go to their houses, they can sort of implement the same principles in their own houses. By the way, they are not excluded, right? So you and me are not excluded from that. I need to come home and switch off my lights too, right? So I need to be responsible about that. One. So the second approach, are what we've done is we are building capacity, obviously, for our bank, about gender equality, equity, inclusion. We're talking about ESG principles. That's what we've been talking about: green banking to green banking and ESG. We've been rolling out multiple sessions. And one of the most important critical aspects that I think none of the bank, I shouldn't be giving out sweeping statements right here. Maybe some bank has done something, but we have started engaging customers. So we've already done a session where we've engaged corporates and medium enterprises. State Bank is part of that. We are doing another session to build customers' understanding around ESG. And green banking, and how they can benefit. This, by the way, involves or includes agri customers as well, right? So when we talk about agriculture, because if you do not put a handle, or if you do not sort of understand what is happening in the climate arena, it's inevitable the size of your cities will explode. Karachi is like, probably 35 million people we don't even know, right? I mean, I'm just saying maybe it's lesser, maybe it's slightly 35 million, maybe it's 30 million, I don't know. But look at Lahore, right? So Lahore is like close to like 25 million people right there. So there's, all these people who are living in the rural areas, if they're not making money, if you do not empower them, if you do not educate them, they will start to move into the cities, right? And you do not have the infrastructure or the capacity to take all that in. And your infrastructure already is not only stressed, but sort of like has, flatlined, so to speak, and you bring, an additional 15 million people into Karachi. Trust me, if you don't invest in the city, your city is gone. You and I, no matter what you do, you include buses, e-buses, you include whatever green initiatives you want to include. You're not going anywhere with that, right? So you need to have circular economy in place. You need to, you need to bring in those, you need to educate people around plastic, reusable plastic, textile, how they can save water, how they can sort of like, start to invest in reusing products, which have been thrown out. So there's a lot to do in terms of capacity building when it comes to customers.
Wonderful.
And this I'm talking about, commercial banks, from commercial banks. And obviously, we need to sort of start educating the common man, right? We need to have more sessions like these, which are, open to a lot of, to public. It should be in public domain. It should include. We should have seminars on this, right? Everyone should be talking about it, right? We should be putting in the effort, investing in these customer awareness sessions, consumer awareness sessions, even general public awareness sessions. You know what I mean? So it's extremely important that the approach should be, obviously, the next phase is technology. Technology will save us if you go that way. Obviously, it has its own risks. We understand those risks, and Nauman Saab can maybe shed more light on that. But I mean, cybersecurity and all that, I mean, obviously kicks in. But we need to start to look at it from multi-lens. It needs to be multi-lens approach.
Absolutely.
Because it is very nuanced, right? So my conversation would be like, let's start talking to more people. Let's start to train them. Let's start building that capacity and impart that
Wonderful.
knowledge.
And essentially, when Veggie Saab is saying we, just for the audiences who will be watching this live and who will be watching it later on as well, by we mean essentially all of you. And like Essence Saab had also said that, we can pick this up as an opportunity which is very entrepreneurial led as well. There are social enterprises all across the globe who are working on such initiatives where they pick up, identify a problem that has a real impact. And like Essence Saab has told us with proof points that good business ideas and plans do have funding pockets that are available. It's just that how can we capitalize on those funding pockets and make it a case where the businesses can also thrive. I always say and feel
Quickly,
that
by the way, these Noorulain, quickly,
we-
these opportunities, by the way, are extremely low cost, probably priced at
absolutely,
zero. So,
absolutely,
so anyone who wants to work in the social space or in the environment space, not only you make money by investing in it, there are this Asian Development Bank, there's World Bank, there are
absolutely.
10 different other
This
funds that are available. Which, if you do well in crafting yourself or positioning yourself, they will come to you and invest in your company. So if somebody
absolutely.
thinks that this is not possible, I think they're missing the point.
Absolutely. Since very quickly in terms of, we're a little ahead of our schedule, but I'll quickly go around the room. So, Essence of any thoughts on where should the capacity building efforts be focused on?
Thank you very much, Ji. Bilkul. I'll be very quick. देखें जी बात बड़ी सिंपल सी है. I'm sorry and I apologize in advance to all of you if my comments in any way
Not at
are
all.
contrary to your beliefs. Capacity building is a step forward. Let's take a step back. You need to understand. You need to change the thinking. I can do a 1 billion rupee a program of culture change to National Bank or to Habib Bank or to UBL. It will not. It will have no impact unless you change the thinking of the people. ठीक है आज भी ऐसे लोग हैं मैं दिस इज माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस ठीक है ऐसे लोग हैं जो who are sitting at very big offices are very educated but have a different compartment for themselves and their spouses. आज भी ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको हम पढ़ा पढ़ा के थक गए हैं ठीक है and they go back and our presentation our work material goes into that drawer and stays in that drawer. You need to understand decision makers have to be brainwashed to become acquainted to this new world and then you go to capacity building. मैं आपको जितना मर्जी बढ़ा दूं ठीक है वो एक अंग्रेजी में सुनेंगे you cannot कहते हैं teach new tricks to old dog ठीक है. You have to understand that we need to bring young people. We need to जिस तरह वजी साहब हैं ठीक है we need to bring young people, women ठीक है, young entrepreneur women हजारों की तादाद से MBA MSc करके निकल रही हैं यूनिवर्सिटी से and they're doing good job and they are equipped with the knowledge to tackle the world which is coming. I do not rely on ADB. I do not rely on World Bank. I do not want to give the future of my people and my projects and my country to the hands of those for multilaterals. I'm very proud to say, madam, the $55 million I've raised, only 4% of this money has been raised from outside. 36% has been raised locally from local banks, investment companies, DFIs, and local investors. Okay, who understand? देखिए जी बात ये है, our country has challenges. It has challenges, so does the world. UK has a challenge, US has a challenge, everybody has challenges. If you have decided to live in this country, we have to create opportunities within this country. Whether it's X government, Y government, Z government, whether it's an economic downfall, whether they have stopped all the funding to Pakistan. If you have decided to live in this country, which I have, okay, I have to create opportunities within the challenges I have. That's the first step. जब आप इस बात को एक्सेप्ट कर लोगे, capacity building will be only impactful and go down the ranks if people can change their mind. If you cannot achieve the change of thinking, thought process is not change, we can do all the capacity building. You're all very learned people, and I've learned a lot in the last 1 hour and what's happening where. Lekin you have to understand, changing the mindset is the key towards capacity building. That's
Yeah.
my thought.
Thank you so much, Asna Saab. I think very good points in a different perspective as well, in which we say that bottom up approach भी तो देखें ना आप डेफ एज के ऊपर अपना टाइम और एफर्ट और सारा कुछ जो ज़ाया करेंगे, तो आई थिंक वही बात हमारी है, prominent point, and Alishba, I'll move down to you as well, that make the capacity building more holistic, in which we're addressing the different facets that we need to touch base. Alishba, your quick points, and then Noman, I'll come to you as to your thoughts on this. Ji.
Ji, no, since I'm presenting ACCA and specifically the ACCA Sustainability, ESG and Climate Action Committee. And so if you see financial professionals and accountants working in climate change and ESG and sustainability, so it is a something very new, because generally लोग ये सोचते थे कि accountants और financial professionals का climate change, ESG और इसमें क्या काम है. लेकिन करंटली आपको पता है कि अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स भी आ गए S1 S2. तो कमेटी के पर्सपेक्टिव से हम बहुत एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं कि हम स्पेसिफिकली जो है फाइनेंशियल प्रोफेशनल्स को, ACCA के जो स्टूडेंट्स को और एक जनरल पब्लिक को अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करें. उसके लिए हमारे कुछ इनिशिएटिव्स हैं जो हमने लास्ट टेन्योर में भी लिए थे अपनी कमेटी के. वेबिनार सीरीज हम रन करते हैं जो कि हमारा जैसे आपका ब्राउन नेटवर्क है, इसी तरह लाइव होता है फेसबुक पे, लिंक्डइन पे, और उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी अवेलेबल होती हैं. वो ओपन टू द पब्लिक होता है. हम मतलब ऑल ओवर जो है हम सेक्टोरियल उसमें पार्टिसिपेंट्स को बुलाते हैं. हम वो जो वेबिनार सीरीज जो हमने लास्ट ऑलरेडी डिलीवर कर दी हुई है, उसमें हमने सेक्टर के एक्सपर्ट्स को भी बुलाया था, डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर में, प्राइवेट सेक्टर से, नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल को फोकस थे. एक हमारा वेबिनार जो कमेटी के पर्सपेक्टिव से था वो वुमेन सेंटर्ड भी था. मार्च में हमने रन किया था वुमेन डेज की पर्सपेक्टिव से. तो ये हमारी तरफ से एक एफर्ट्स हो रही है कि हम जो है वेबिनार्स के थ्रू, सेमिनार्स के थ्रू जो है अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करें. ये जो इम्पोर्टेंट क्लाइमेट चेंज का एरिया है, इसमें क्या चैलेंजेस हैं, अपॉर्चुनिटीज है, किस तरह इश्यूज को सॉल्व किया जाए, और किस तरह एक नेक्सस क्रिएट की जाए प्राइवेट सेक्टर की, डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर की, एकेडेमिया की और गवर्नमेंट की, and many more relevant stakeholders. So apart from this is capacity building के लिए जैसे अभी जो है एहसन साहब ने भी बात की, वजी भी बात कर रहे थे कि यूथ को एंगेज करना चाहिए, वुमेन को एंगेज करना चाहिए, और यूथ को ट्रेन करना चाहिए, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को ट्रेन करना चाहिए. तो इन्होंने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि जो मतलब जो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है, क्योंकि अब ये क्लाइमेट चेंज अब ये ज्यादा इमर्जिंग जो है एक जो है सब्जेक्ट बना है. अब इसमें अगर आप देखें तो अब प्रॉपर इसमें क्वालिफिकेशंस भी आ गई हैं. क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस की अगर बात करें, ACCA ने अभी जो है क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस का डिप्लोमा भी जो है अभी लॉन्च किया है. जो उसको मतलब उसकी ट्रेनिंग लेना चाहे तो उसका पर्पस ये है कि क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस के ऊपर भी ये एक न्यू सब्जेक्ट है, इसके ऊपर बात की जाए, कार्बन मार्केट्स के ऊपर बात की जाए. तो हमारे जो अभी जो हमने ऑलरेडी रन कर दिए वेबिनार सीरीज, और अभी अपकमिंग वेबिनार सीरीज है which is for everyone around, nationally, globally, all the sectors, students, everyone, anyone can attend it. इस सब्जेक्ट्स के ऊपर हमने फोकस किया. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट नूर, आई वुड लाइक टू हाईलाइट कि जो हम वेबिनार सीरीज क्योंकि हम ACCA के प्लेटफॉर्म से कर रहे हैं, तो बहुत से हमारे पास स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, बहुत से हमारे पास मदर्स होती हैं, और वो होते हैं जो घर से अटेंड कर रहे होते हैं. उनके लिए भी एक अवेयरनेस क्रिएशन है, क्योंकि जब आप अपने मतलब आई एम श्योर आप में से कुछ मतलब पेरेंट्स होंगे, उनके भी बच्चे और अपनी फैमिलीज में होंगे जो अपना सब्जेक्ट चूज कर रहे होते हैं. दे वांट टू गो फॉर समथिंग न्यू. वो फाइनेंस को सिर्फ नंबर्स की पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं देखना चाहते. तो इन वेबिनार सीरीज के थ्रू जो है हम एजुकेट जो है घर में बैठी हुई खवातीन को, स्टूडेंट्स को, और जो यंगर लॉट है उनको हम करें कि व्हाट इज क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस, व्हाट इज कार्बन मार्केट्स, and what is sustainability, what is ESG, and how it actually works, and how you can be having job with it. तो ये हमारा एक जो है जो है हमारे ACCA के स्ट्रीमलाइन से हमने जो है एक एक्टिविटी की है. इसके अलावा नूर, हमने अभी रिसेंटली एक मेरा आर्टिकल भी पब्लिश हुआ है ACCA की AB मैगजीन में, विच इज फोकस्ड ऑन क्लाइमेट फाइनेंसिंग, के पाकिस्तान में जो क्लाइमेट फाइनेंसिंग अभी जो करंट सिनेरियोज हैं, उनके चैलेंजेस हैं, और उसको आगे किस तरह रीडिजाइन किया जाए. वो एक डिटेल्ड एनालिसिस है विच इज एक्चुअली गुड रीडिंग पॉइंट. COP29 के ड्यूरिंग द COP29 हमने उसको पब्लिश किया था AB मैगजीन में. तो वो भी एक नॉलेज प्रोडक्ट है, with the focus to create awareness and to provide solutions to the policy makers or anyone relevant stakeholder जो भी उसको utilize करना चाहे. So these are the efforts in terms of involving youth and involving gender, or if you talk about gender equality or gender inclusion, और academia के perspective से ACCA की कमेटी जो है अभी efforts कर रही है. Thank you, Noor.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alishba. I think, and rightly said, कि itni professional insights, and since Sumreen is also here from the accountancy side, you are also here from accountancy side, the finance professionals also that watch this, please claim it as part of the CPD. It's always a good CPD in which, you know, you could go through the professional insights, go through the policy insights pages, watch the webinars. I think एक जो सबसे वही एहसन साहब भी जो बात कर रहे थे, मैं कहती हूँ जो सादा खुशबू जो चीज़ है उसको प्लीज पहले से कर लें, which is just being a part of conversations and you know, for engaging with like-minded people so that वो 2+2 वाला formula जो है वो create हो. So Numan, any final thoughts in terms of what you have to say in terms of capacity building? हम offline बहुत बात करते हैं, online बताइए कि what is it that you are thinking around that, and then we'll close.
जी मैं बहुत ही interesting subject. Sometimes I felt like there is so many deja vus we keep on talking about. I think first session में वजी ने एक point उठाया था कि you know, the cities are growing and if the people keep on coming. If you remember on the very first subject we spoke, first webinar of ours, I said that कि लोग अगर सब अपने गाँव में अपने शहरों में रहें and everybody stays there, that would be more sustainable than development. But having said that, this was very, very interesting. Technology, obviously, technology makes a lot of things sustainable. See, in last 20 years, how much technology has changed our lives. We're doing this. This was not done before 20 years ago. So what happens is challenges of technology, how they are improving our life. We need to educate people. Educating, obviously, हम थोड़ा सा slightly, I think, उसी dimension में as the Brown Network collaboration, the eight, nine organizations we are together. We are trying to go into the training sessions of people. We're doing webinars, we're doing educations, we're trying to build corporate courses, we're trying to build ESG solutions with consultancy, advisory, IT solutions, which I'm part of myself. I am. अब जैसे एसेंस आप बात कर रहे थे कि it would be challenge, and I'm totally a witness कि मैं जहाँ पे बोलता हूँ very, very large corporates of Pakistan, it's very difficult to make them understand. They'd be spending billions and billions of rupees, but they won't be able to spend $2,000, $5,000 on a sustainability report for a month. So this goes on. I totally understand, but जहाँ पे ये corporate का challenge है, वहाँ पे हमें private sector एक आम पब्लिक को भी हमें एजुकेट करने का सिस्टम, जैसे स्कूल्स में ये सब्जेक्ट जाए पूरा. ESG should be incorporated, environmental social governance. जैसे हम कोई सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाते हैं, जैसे पाकिस्तान स्टडीज हो गया या कोई जनरल नॉलेज स्टडीज हो गया, उसमें हमारा ये सब्जेक्ट्स को हमारी गवर्नमेंट को इंक्लूड करना चाहिए ताकि बच्चे, छोटे बच्चे, नॉट जस्ट एट ए कॉलेज लेवल और यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल अगर एजुकेशन हो और कॉर्पोरेट लेवल एजुकेशन हो, सिर्फ नहीं वहाँ नहीं, बच्चों से स्टार्ट करें. बच्चों की माएँ पढ़ेंगी, बच्चों के वालदैन अगर जो भी है फैमिली में पढ़ेंगे, वो वहाँ से अवेयर हों कि ये सस्टेनेबिलिटी क्या है. हाउ डू वी फॉलो ऑल दोज थिंग्स, हाउ डू वी अलाइन ऑल दोज सब्जेक्ट्स. जैसे बेसिकली IT में, अब मैं पिछले 2 साल से AI में काम कर रहा हूँ, मुझे पता चला कि द फ्यूचर इज दिस. आई एम विटनेस ऑफ चेंजिंग लाइफ्स. मैं NHS UK में काम कर रहा हूँ फॉर एन AI ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जहाँ पे हम सोल्यूशंस कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे हेल्थ केयर में हम चेंजेस ला रहे हैं. व्हेन वी शो द पीपल व्हाट AI कैन डू, तो इट्स नॉट पीपल थिंक इट्स गोइंग टू रिप्लेस पीपल्स जॉब. नहीं, जो लोग इसको यूज कर सकेंगे अच्छे तरीके से, वो लोग ज्यादा वैलिड रहेंगे. इट्स जस्ट लाइक आवर ओल्ड पीपल, आवर ओल्डर जनरेशंस, दे आर नॉट एबल टू यूज द मोबाइल्स इजीली. यू नो, उनको स्कैन करना, उनको यूज करना, उन टेक्नोलॉजी को, कंप्यूटर को यूज करना. द पीपल हु आर मच इफेक्टिव इन दिस टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड, अपने सोल्यूशंस को समझते हैं, फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री को समझते हैं. जैसे अलिशबा बात करी थी कि फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री में लोगों को पहले समझते थे कि फाइनेंस के लोगों की जॉब ही नहीं है, टोटली फाइनेंस के लोगों की जॉब है ESG रिपोर्टिंग क्रिएट करना. ये हर बंदे का काम नहीं है, बिकॉज इट्स सो मेनी टीयर्स इन दोज थिंग्स. हाँ, सोशल साइड पे, गवर्नेंस साइड पे, बेसिकली रूल्स के जो इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स है, पाकिस्तान ने अपने IFRS 1 के S1 S2 स्टैंडर्ड्स को भी मैंडेटरी करा उन्हें लार्ज कॉर्पोरेट. उस सारों को अगर हम लोग इनकॉर्पोरेट कर लेते हैं फॉर स्टार्टर, के कुछ लोग अभी स्टार्ट तो कर रहे हैं, बड़े लोग करें ना करें, बट वी शुड बी अवेयर एज जनरल पब्लिक. आप ये देखिए कि पाकिस्तान में EV व्हीकल्स आने शुरू हो गए हैं, पाकिस्तान में सोलर लोग लगाना शुरू हो गए, तो पीपल आर अवेयर के फॉसिल फ्यूल्स या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कॉस्ट आर अफेक्टिंग देयर लाइव्स. तो बाय हुक और क्रुक पीपल आर फोर्स्ड टू बी सस्टेनेबल नाउ. तो उसी को अगर हम इनकैश कर लें, इसकी एजुकेशन करके ऑन अ जनरल लेवल एंड ऑन अ कॉर्पोरेट लेवल, तो प्रॉबेबली लेट्स होप फॉर द बेस्ट, थिंग्स वुड बी बेटर. लेकिन यही है कि अभी तक तो मेरा जनरल ओवरऑल व्यू ये है कि मैंने पिछले 1 साल में I think all the largest corporate मैंने उनको सबको present किया पाकिस्तान में. I've spoken to university people, I've spoken to students, and a lot of people have the capacity issue. पाकिस्तान में MPhil पढ़ाया जाता है, PhD कराई जाती है climate पे, तो I just ask them what is scope 1 and they don't know it. तो यहाँ पे जाता है कि जो हमारा क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन है दैट हैज टू ग्रो. पीपल हैव टू थिंक आउटसाइड द बॉक्स कि आप ये इस तरह के वेबिनार्स, इस तरह के प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे भी जाएं, आप लोगों को सुने, व्हाट डज दैट मीन, एंड उसको एब्जॉर्ब करें. जितना अपनी कैपेसिटी को बढ़ाएंगे इट विल हेल्प. दैट्स प्रीटी मच इट. और बेसिकली रिस्क है उनको मिनिमाइज करें, अपनी जितनी लाइफ के रिस्क है उनको मिनिमाइज करें. ऑब्वियसली आई हैव अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशंस एंड एवरीथिंग आई वांटेड टू शो, पर वो उसमें टाइम ज्यादा लग जाता है. एंड दिस ऑल डिबेट goes into this general thing we should be doing a lot of things where ESG, environmental social governance, आपकी pollution, आपकी climate, आपका waste product, ये सारी चीजें जो हैं आपकी पूरी लाइफ को impact करती हैं. तो obviously that's it from my side again.
Thank you so much, Noman, and thank you for the excellent idea. Short course for children or sustainability coming up very soon, because that's my specialty area. So you have given me a great idea. So
I
thank you
would
so
like
much.
to add one point,
Yes,
Noorulain.
yes,
Actually, it was a very valid suggestion by Noman. Why don't we talk to different schools? Maybe they can add a little subject in their curriculum, like a sports or a music class they have every week. They can introduce one subject wherein they can actually teach kids. And coming from, children into their houses, having responsible children, shutting off lights, turning off the taps, and so think
absolutely.
about it, how what impact is it going to create on their parents and maybe elders at the home? So
Yeah.
wonderful idea, Numan, and
we,
I
we,
think we
we
should
do
work on
cover
that.
it. I do cover it small with a different organization, but that's mostly focused on social entrepreneurship. So we'll set that as a separate topic on ESG for kids for the next webinar.
Surely,
And I know for
surely.
a
Thank
fact that
you.
the consortium is listening to us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a fantastic session all the way. And I'm just going to pin up one comment that came in the beginning by Tamila, who was watching us, that in Pakistan, which organizations are working on any kind of ESG related areas. So, Varisab, thank you so much for sharing the best practices at SNBL. Saab, thank you so much for letting us know the scope and the size of the pie in terms of, all that is available and how a good idea can actually take you places. Sumreen, thank you so much for giving us an overall holistic picture of what the financial services um, space looks like, specifically for the ESG, the regulators viewpoint. बहुत ज़रूरी है हमारे लिए, हम हर काम regulator पे नहीं छोड़ सकते. As we have seen with other economies as well, it's always a collaborative approach. I keep stressing on it. Even if it's not mandatory yet, it would be in terms of what kind of communications we have. Alishba's article, I gave it a quick glance through, but I'm going to read it right after the webinar, and I've shared it in the chat as well. These are important pieces of conversations in which, it's kind of like building up a puzzle piece. So thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of the conversation and joining the vision of this particular consortium, Brown Network. I'm forgetting again, Global Tech, IFRS Lab, Are You Thinking Green, HumIsNet, Cognition Hub. हमारा विजन बहुत एक छोटा सा था कि हम ये कन्वर्सेशंस कर सकें, and we are building up on that. Thank you so much taking our time on a Sunday. Appreciate it. Safe travels to SN Gilani Saab, and we'll see you shortly on the other side very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Very
Thank
nice
Thank
to you all.
you.
you
Thank you.
very
Have a
much.
good evening, all of you.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone.
And by the way,
Thank
for
you.
the comment you have from the lady, everybody is doing something